Well, happy Sunday afternoon, evening, depending on where you are, Sonder family. Welcome to our weekly setup for the second full week in August. It's really great to see you. You may be actually looking at a video recording of this. This is being recorded. So if that is you and you're in our YouTube channel right now, welcome. We're glad that you're here. We hope that you can make a live event next time because when you come to a live event, you get to connect with the most amazing people. And our chat is happy this evening, folks, talking about we're ready for a new week. Some of you are starting school, you're getting to meet new students. What a privilege for those students to have Sonder people at the helm in their spaces. I'm so proud of you sharing those gifts with the young ones of the community in our world. So teachers, just I'm sorry, Chris. Yeah, no, we're live, but there may be some folks checking in later in the recording. So I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm in the Dallas, Texas area. This time of year I get excited for the teachers. I'm a retired educator, so there's just that cadence, I guess, that's hardwired in my brain. I go into Walmart and I start salivating over markers, the fresh markers and the pointy crayons. But really glad to welcome you. Bailey is joining me tonight. So you've got Bailey and Jennifer on the call. Bailey will be hanging out in the chat, and as questions come up or whatever, she'll be monitoring that. So if you've got something you want to ask, she'll do her best to point you in the right direction with an answer, or she may refer you to like headquarters, which is hello@silkensonder.com. And yeah, so we share in the chat. We count on you to share what you're doing in your journal and how things have worked for you. You're going to be invited to use your pages just as they are. You probably already have a cadence, but if you are brand new here, we're going to give you a lot of ideas for maybe repurposing or making this beautiful journal work for your life and the things that are going on in your life. So feel free to drop questions or queries in the chat. That is how we communicate. Mics are off, cameras are off. You get to just do you behind the scenes. If there is anybody who's here for the first time, just say, it's me, I'm here so that we can give you a welcome. If you come to these enough, you're going to make some virtual friends. You're going to see these names of people that you will fall in love with. And, we encourage the Sonder community. That is such a beautiful part of this journey, isn't it? Oh my goodness. So I found this graphic this week, and I think I actually used it maybe like last August. August is the bridge between summer and autumn, between how the year has been and how the year will end. And that's so true. There's kind of like this whole fresh start feeling for August when August hits. So we become, like a new page, and I sort of love that. I love the green tree kind of turning into the orange tree. I was telling Bagley, y'all are gonna see in a minute. I'm just wishing my life away trying to get to the Burr months. But anyway, so when we gather together, we always observe our community guidelines. You've read these. You read these when you joined Sonder Club. But we do post up every week because we want to remind you this is a safe place, and it is okay to come as you are. If you're having a bad day, just come. Just come and sit with us. You can even say, I'm having a bad day. And we are going to give you some Sonder love and some support. Be yourself, ask for help. We believe in start overs. We believe that we can make mistakes and it's okay. And we love learning how to say no and how to support one another as we create boundaries in our lives. This is a safe place. So just that reminder. And then of course, enchantment. And I told you, I'm going to just share this every week because I love this. It's not about magical thinking. It's about being fully present in the world, being fully present in your life and choosing to see enchantment. So, yeah, let's dig in. So, as you know, when you come to a weekly setup, you get a bonus journal prompt that's going to help you take a deeper look into the theme and how it fits in your life. And I think enchantment has been a lot of fun so far. Real excited about week number 2, the prompt. But we do this bonus thing called a mind map. And so it's going to be 4 weeks worth of journal prompts, and you get the prompt at the weekly setup. We'll work on that. We're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we're going to do our weekly setup pages. And I've got, again, lots of examples from our Sonder family to share with you. But you can also just chug along as you normally do and be ready, with your setup. So we're thinking this month about what if enchantment isn't reserved for fairy tales? What if it's something that's already there and you just need to have the mindset and the time to look at that. So we're going to be guided for these 3 more weeks. We did week 1 last week, but we're going to look at places, objects, magical people, memories, all those things that just awaken enchantment and joy in your life. So, last week was about the time of day when your world feels enchanted, and this week is all about things that spark awe or delight. And so, our question is, what heirloom, sensory object, or even smells or sounds feel like little bursts of wonder? Is it a piece of music? Is it a stone you keep on your desk? Or the smell of lavender or freshly baked bread or old books? What do these awaken in you, and what memory or emotion do they carry? So, if you're joining us for the first time this month, your mind map can be put anywhere. You can go to like the last page. That's a hint that Bailey gave us months and months and months and months ago. I do mine on the last page because it's easy to find. It's right there. You could use your definition page. You could use your weekly scratch pad. You might have a little side journal that you put these prompts in, maybe sticky notes that are moving with you. So yes, that last page, and I'll show you, I've got mine. Mine is up there in that right-hand corner. I used cookie cutters for my outlines this month. And I just wanted to gather a bunch of things some imagery that might get your brain thinking about a thing that you have, an object that you have. Now, I will tell you, I embraced an odor, a smell, and it is that of my mother-in-law's home. And I was telling Bailey, we cleaned out their home after they had passed, and I have a couple of baggies that I have. She was a sewist. I'm a sewist, so I got like all the crafts, all her stuff. And I have a couple of Ziplocs that I keep Ziplocked. And sometimes I go and I open it up and I get my little hint, my little, hit of Wilma Ogilvy House. And I know that's eventually going to go away. It's been a number of years, about 4.5 years. And then I seal it back up. But that woman is the woman who I learned about being a good woman from. I love my mother-in-law so much. And so her home taught me what a house filled with love and acceptance and mess ups and just life. It taught me what that could look like in the very best of ways. And so that odor, we just miss that we can go back home and smell that. So that is what it was for me. I gathered some imagery. I want to talk about that little bottom in the middle. I had lunch with a dear, dear, dear friend yesterday, and this just came up naturally. I love how serendipity works. And she knows I'm a big thrifter, and she has this butter dish from her grandmother, and she broke the bottom of it. And she is heartbroken. And she said, "Will you look for it?" So I said, "Send me a picture." And she told me the story of being a little girl, and this little piece of crystal looked magic to her. Like she had to be so careful. And she just remembers being in her grandmother's home. And so she sent me the picture. I have it on my camera. I'm going to now hunt for that extra piece of, the bottom part of the butter dish for her. I hope I can find something similar. But it's just funny that it happened that we were talking about that. So I know you all have some amazing little tchotchkes or smells or sounds. Bailey had shared yesterday in her setup that it was the Phantom of the Opera, like the music and the disc, and like that was like the first musical that really stirred her, and she just is taken back when she hears those sounds. So think about what it is for you, and please share in the chat. This is going to be such a beautiful way to just spark joy, and then we'll get on with the rest of our setup. my heart. Y'all have some wonderful memories, and I love the ones, yes, cigarettes always remind me of my dad, and my dad was like a restaurant dude, and he was like a general manager for Whataburger, which is, the big hamburger place down here in Texas, but he would come home and smell like cigarettes and mustard and pickle juice, which is the weirdest combination. And it was awful, but I smell mustard and it's my dad walking in the door, or that old grease smell. Your sense of smell is the strongest like memory in engager, the way our brain works. And so I noticed lots of you talked about when you smelled something, it took you right back, and you were sitting in an uncle's lap, and I could smell his cigars. Or so thank you so much for sharing in the chat. And think and the perfumes. Yes, my mother-in-law wore Legend of Love, and I think it was an Amway perfume, I think, and we found a bottle of it, and my daughter has that so she can smell her granny. But isn't it amazing? Yes, it is a beautiful prompt, Kimberly. Again, just that way of finding those enchanted moments in our life by remembering and thinking. And I'm a collector. I have little tchotchkes all over the house that make me think of other things. And while you guys were writing, I thought about when I was working, I put a magnet on the frame of my office door so when I walked out, I would see it. And it was the Ethel and Lucy. It was the image of when they were at the chocolate factory. Remember how it got, the conveyor belt got really full and they had too much to deal with, and their mouths were full, and it always kind of it could get my mindset reframed when I went to go deal with an issue. Like, it was kind of like that little reminder, that magnet. Now I'm like, where did I put that magnet? So anyway, I need to find that. But thank you so much. And Terry, you have the bottom of the butter dish. Are you kidding me? We need to connect. That's so great. Oh, Noxzema skin cream. Yes, Beth Ann. So see, I think the more we start finding the magic, the more magic comes, right? We're going to keep thinking more and more and more. So I love that. Thank you for embracing that great week 2 of our mind map. So now we'll hop over to our rosebud thorn reflection for the week. And we're going to find that on page 36 this week. And it's just that activity to find gratefulness and, kind of frame out our week. How was it? What do we want to take forward? What do we want to leave behind? What didn't go so great? Our thorns, those challenges. And I had shared with y'all last week, if you were one of my sets, my mom has a compression fracture in her back. She's not, so anyway, she's in rehab, but there's just a lot of moving parts when you're taking care of an aging parent. So there's that. And then my bud this week, what I'm looking forward to, it's an immediate bud. This is my anniversary week. And I made a little bingo board. I'm going to share that with you and show you how I'm embracing that kind of fun enchantment. And then my rose was just last week was my camp grand happy, and I got to keep my 2 oldest, and we took them to the camp house and they fished and we caught nothing. But like my oldest graduated to a bigger pole. He's 7. He learned how to cast by himself, and we just had some beautiful magic moments. It was quite enchanting. So, anyhow, that was for me. I want to know, what was your rosebud thorn? And remember, it one thing could be all the things. I know I saw in Sonder Club, I think it was one of our Kimberlys, had put it was a rose garden. That's all I got this week, and all 3 things were roses. So maybe you had a week like that. I hope you did, because it's kind of fun to avoid the thorns. Let me put on just a blip of music while you do this, and feel free to share in the chat. If there's any way we can support some of your thorns, drop that in the chat and just let us be a community as you're dealing with that. right. As a reminder, you've always got this community to support you, to cheer you on, to share in those happy moments. So thank you for sharing as you were comfortable. I know that there's some of you who have just had these health things that have just been looming, and I hope that some resolution will be coming down the pipe soon for that. But lots of good things, lots of roses to celebrate. So it's just that reminder that life is this mixed bag, and we take it, we handle it, and we move on, we learn, we live. So thank you for taking a moment to do that reflection. Now I want to invite you to turn to page 39, and you may not have done this yet. We're kind of going to be approaching mid-month toward the end of this week, and I thought it would be fun to maybe take just a moment to take a moment and fill out a couple of these things or ponder them, thinking about, what's currently going on in your life. So I'm going to put on just a little smidge of music, and if you want to share a couple of things, maybe something you're anticipating, or um, I would love to know what you're reading. If you've got a book going, I just started a new one. Our It's called Malas, and our community in the summer does one. It's called One Book, One Garland. I'm in Garland, Texas, and like the library has a ton of copies of it, and it's encouraging the community to read, the community at large. And then September they have all kind of activities. So we'll have an author's talk, and we'll get to do some hands-on handicrafts, and it's just kind of a neat thing. So I started that. That's what I'm reading. And I started Fairy Tale Fridays. So that's what I'm watching on Fridays. I'm doing a fairy tale movie every week. So let's take a moment and just take a look at that currently page and have it kind of thinking of bouncing around in your mind this week. Kimberly L, you make me laugh for putting that there because Kimberly's asked, "What are you wishing for?" That she finds that question especially enchanting. So maybe drop that in the chat. And I'm laughing because I was telling Bailey, I'm wishing my life away because I just want August to be done because I'm so hot and I'm being whiny. So I'm gonna work on a different answer for later in the week. That's not a very enchanting answer. I love that. So thanks for, taking a look at this page. And, I know there's some folks who will like do a check-in at the end of like week 1 and a check-in at the end of week 2 and a check-in at the end of week 3 because there's 3 lines for each one of these things. And then they kind of do their wrap up when they go into their next journal for, like that 4th week. So there's a lot of ways to use this. You can check in with yourself. You can do it at the front end of the month. Someone said they do that. But I thought it'd be a fun thing to spend just a couple of moments looking at that. So let's get into that weekly planner and our setup. We'll be on pages 40 and 41 this week. Yeah, that's right. I'm turning my pages. And so this is somebody's, I don't know whose it is, but I loved the colors and how it's just, a lot of color was added with markers and, just taping over the spaces that you don't want to use and the stickers, and it just was a fun page. So yeah, it's a piece of art for sure, Kimberly. It caught my eye. Wanted to share it with y'all. I always talk about how I am a black pen. If I get fancy, I picked up a colored pencil. I'm just not up. So I admire these. I love these. I wanted to share that with you. I'll have this slide later in our slide deck as well, but just that reminder of with our enchantment that maybe we want to make some fun days in our week. And there's some fun alliteration days to do that. Last week I did Musical Monday, Treat Tuesday, just wonderful Wednesday, Three Things Thursday, and I listed 3 things I was especially grateful for. Fairy Tale Friday. Saturday was Senses Saturday, and so I kind of looked at, my touch, smell, what, listed a thing. And then today is my self-care Sunday. So this evening it's painting my fingernails and I'm going to do my teeth strips and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you want to jazz up your days and make them a little more enchanted. There you go. Thank you, Kimberly. Yes, yes, for my coloring pages. Plus, this week we've got some fun things coming up. So you might want to grab a screenshot of this if you want to embrace any of these National Day ofs. It's a fun way to frame things out. I think it was Thursday. I think it might have been Thursday. It was National Frozen Custard Day. And my husband and I went to get it at Andy's Frozen Custard here in Dallas, and the kids working there had no idea that it was National Frozen Custard Day. So, yeah, so I embraced a couple of those last week. But we've got, Tell a Joke Day on the 16th. Next Sunday is a Thrift Shop Day. That's going to be a day. Vinyl Record Day is August 12th. Any middle children out there, it's your day, August 12th. So yeah, grab that because that could make your days a little more fun, a little enchanted. Celebrate being a middle kid. So I always like to do show and tell and get a couple of examples to show y'all of a complete setup. Here's a couple of examples from y'all. You can see that both of these pages are choosing not to have a certain number of goals for their habits and activities. They're just going to track it. And then I love the 3 major goals with the flowers and the writing of the goals on the stems. So creativity and physical well-being and mindfulness were those 3 overriding goals. And then in the to-do list, they've written out how that's going to happen. And yes, the watering can. I love that. I love the watering can, the nurture myself. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there's your page, Gloria. Thank you for sharing in Sonder Club so I could share with everybody in case you guys forgot to check in with Sonder Club and didn't catch this one. And I love the watering can. I'm thinking of all the good things that are in that watering can can that you're using to feed yourself. And then the one on the right, we can see there's four major goals because that's what this person needs. And I love the little tracker for the workout, right? I'm going to work out earlier and I'm making a tracker to hold myself accountable. So just, some ideas of incorporating these spaces. And yes, the yellow is so sunny. I agree. Just happy, using that happy color. And so we're going to start off with, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel this week? And you can pick several feelings, one feeling. We are actually talking about like letting go and having a pause in your life, in our sermon, our series at church. And this morning we talked about don't fear, do not fear. And so my word this week is I want to feel fear, and then I put less in all caps. And that's where I'm going to go because I'm an Enneagram 6. Fear drives us. We overcompensate for our fear, and I need to just let that go. So that's where I'm going to land this week. I also love, what if you want to just feel ASAP and you take some of these beautiful statements and work them into your feeling? Nathaniel wants to feel was it powerful? Wait, it's scrolling too fast. Prepared. Prepared. Mandy says effective. Jennifer N is out of this world. A sense of wonder, Beth Ann. I love that. And feel enough, feel on track again. This is that, like I said, that restart time, empowered, brave. So lots of different ways to kind of, okay, week, here we come, and this is what we want to bring to the table. So that's why we do that. We name that for the week. You can have a quote. Maybe you're carrying your word of the year. Maybe it's the same word you had last week. It's really whatever you are called to do. We're going to take a look at now how we're going to take that feeling into those three major goals. Keep dropping your feelings in the chat because you may inspire one another. And of course, these three major goals, there's a million ways to decide how to set your goals. Maybe your goals are the same all month and you're carrying them forward. So it's really, what you need. But we've got some suggestions here. Of course, are your goals written around our theme of enchantment? Maybe that's a way to frame those out. Some no goals, putting up those boundaries. Maybe you do the personal challenge or three categories. So maybe, your goals are all about nutrition or fitness or rest or peace. Or maybe that word is driving, those three things that you set up. I always love the idea of the categories, and you can see a grouping of them down there at the bottom. And you just pick categories and you plug in a goal for each one of those. So let's look at some examples. And again, this is from y'all. And think about, how are your goals support the way you want to feel? Ask yourself, what is your why? And you can see how these are all different, but it's going to work for that person. So maybe you build in some little mini trackers in there, like the one you see in the middle. The one up on that upper left, I want to feel calm. And then this is how that person was going to feel calm. And so really focusing on mind, body, and soul. So those two are tied together. And then we can see the goals over there are actually focus and organization of these spaces. I want to do my office space work, housework, and health and fitness, and then a little bingo board to make that happen to and Aria is sharing an Eisenhower matrix, and I have a graphic of that. Here's some more, taking my goals and putting them into the, listing out your to-dos. My to-dos are usually not not tied into my goals. I have goals, I have to-dos, I'm all over the place. But like, look, I want to feel attentive, and then those goals are so good, like attentive to how I speak to myself, and attentive to emotional needs of my family, and attentive to the to-dos for the week. And so that's going to really drive habits, activities, how the days are framed out. I always love this one. I bring this one back around every now and then because the three major goals was really one main goal with how it's going to happen. And it's like this bingo board. But this person, you'll notice habit and activity, one of the things is to unplug. We all need to unplug because it's too easy to not. It's just right there. But they're holding themselves accountable to that 5 times for the week. And when they're thinking, okay, I need to be unplugged, here's my menu. Here's my bingo board of all the different things I can do so that I've got my choice. I'm not just sitting because if we're not intentional before you know it, you're plugged in again. So they're going to work on all these things like hand lettering and crafting and reading. So they've got their menu. These are those ideas to make it happen. So love that. Yes, and I I wish this was mine, not my handwriting, but it's so beautiful. And then finally, maybe this is not the week to have three major goals, and you repurpose this into a space for your rhythms and routines. And I love this a little screen time tracker. Instead of how I want to feel, they're going to throw in a screen time tracker to kind of hold themselves accountable. And then using some weekly expenses are going to go there. So that's telling me like maybe their intention page, like they had a thing about, cutting down on screen time for perhaps mental, taking care of their mental wellness and then their financial health. And so they're going to track weekly there, and that's front and center to that page that they open. And then you can see also the example of just like all the morning things to do and how they set up that little tracker space, and they kind of hashed out like they're not going to wash their hair every day, but by golly, it's going to happen on Monday and Friday. So, a really beautiful way to kind of change that up. And then when we're thinking about to-dos, think about ways that you can be efficient, like time boxing or using the Pomodoro method, where you are setting aside scheduled time to make sure these things happen. We write our to-dos, but then like how do we carry them through? So maybe you go schedule some time and you time box, and you utilize something like the Pomodoro technique. And the time box, that graphic right there says you figure out what the task is, and then you set a time limit. So I often do this when I'm going through closets and drawers, and it's like I'm going to just do 15 minutes, and I'm setting that timer I'm writing it in at 10 o'clock. I'm going to do 15 minutes of decluttering this drawer. And I just repeat as needed, kind of like the Pomodoro technique. But it will really, there's something about that timer going off that makes me just stay focused. So just that suggestion and really making your to-dos happen. Also, the prioritization, talking about that Eisenhower matrix. This is a really good way of taking all the tasks and getting them prioritized so that it works best in your life. The thing, maybe there are some things that you can delete that are not serving you. Maybe like, scrolling on my phone. Maybe that becomes part of your to-dos this week, and it goes into the delete this box. And I'll be going through all these slides while you're setting this page up. And then we've got the idea of the not to do. Again, talking about what does it serve you? Is that where your focus needs to be in your energy? Um, and then we've got some suggestions for, easy 10-minute tasks. So when we're talking about time boxing, which is scheduling in a certain time, 10 o'clock, 15 minutes, I'm doing emptying the garbage cans. Or 10 minutes cleaning the mirrors. So, but you're scheduling that time. You're putting it like in your phone, you're writing it in your daily spread so that you can hold yourself accountable to that. And you can do it a fun way by like doing a bingo. And I love this bingo. That bingo is all self-care, but made it kind of fun to have that accountability there. And then we can take some of these ideas of our to-dos and maybe work them into our habits and activities with a new year starting per se with the school year. Maybe some activities need to go in here, maybe your carpool days or your volunteer days, or making lunch at night so that it's ready in the morning, or prepping things at night to make your morning self happy. But I'm going to also challenge you. Maybe there's something that's gone by the wayside during the summer and you want to reclaim it. Or maybe there's a current habit that you have that you'd like to let go of. So think about those two things when you're setting up this space. James Clear says, make it easy. The idea behind make it easy is not to do easy things, but the idea is to make it as easy as possible in the moment to do things that pay off in the long run. So it's really that reminder to break down your habits into those baby steps. So if you want to walk after work, you set your sneakers right by that front door so you see them when you walk in. And that small step leads to the bigger habit, if that makes sense. So here's a lot of ways to set that up. You can see that there are goals set for some of these, a certain number of times for these things to happen. There are days circled that these people want these things to happen. You don't have to set goals. You can just track my one of my weekly trackers is there on the bottom left, and you can see I didn't do things on every day, but I did check off the days that things happened. And then we've got some habit tracker inspiration for you with, this month of enchantment. So let me stop talking, put on some music. I'll go back through all these slides. If you saw something that spoke to you that you might want to consider, maybe not this week, but another week, grab a screenshot so you've got it. And then we'll go do our second page. right, so you may still be finishing up this page. We're going to go ahead and look at our second page, give you some examples to start thinking about. Again, show and tell of a couple of y'all's pages here. We can see the meal plan is being used as a meal plan on this. Now, we know that that space gets repurposed a lot, but what I loved about it is look at they're doing their water droplets. So there's tea, coffee, water. So I love how those little droplets are being used there. And then, of course, the mind body health plan. I just thought that little space was so pretty with the different colors and just the things that it looks like, there's going to be a concentration of maybe three major things in that category, of our mind body health. The shopping list has been kind of repurposed to be, have, and do. And then the one on the right, I love that they have repurposed their meal plan space and it's called the Daily Jenny. So that's where they are engaging with our online lifestyle list and Jenny and kind of jotting down those notes. So, I just thought that was kind of a fun way to incorporate our personal coaching into our weekly, daily living. And yes, I hear that the water tracker makes you feel attacked because I don't use mine. We've also got some daily glimmers, which is a perfect way to embrace enchantment. It's looking for those little sparks of joy, whatever that is for you. And then for the shopping list, that beautiful little quote. So a couple of lovely examples. There is that fun graphic again about jazzing up our days if you so choose, and we'll look at some examples from all these sections. Now we almost always mention the 7 types of rest. This graphic it has is really good, and Bailey's gonna drop the link in there for you. It came from medium.com, and I love this graphic because it gives you the warning signs, the things that you need to watch for to see if, you need some mental rest. So there's warning signs for the physical rest part and then what to do. So I thought that was a really nice way to do a little bit deeper dig into the 7 types of rest. Perhaps you go through this and realize I need some emotional rest, and that's all you focus on for the week is ways to rest emotionally. So perhaps that's something that will speak to you. And then again, just some great ideas of repurposing these spaces to work in your life. You can certainly use it for your food tracking or meal planning, but it's really about what your week is calling you to do. I do say, let's use this mind body health as kind of the space that really engages with us instead of, the world and work and kids and family and home. And all the other things. This is like your sacred space for that. Here's great idea. If we were talking about unplugging earlier, there's what this person's going to do to make that happen. There's some journal prompts there. Here's more about glimmers and what they are. If you want to grab a screenshot of that, maybe you're going to do a mindfulness challenge. So a little something every day to take care of yourself. And then this was a positivity challenge that I thought was kind of fun to look at. And I love how every one of there's simple things to do. Smile at everyone you come across. And then it says, do not moan once. And every one of these things, do not moan once. So talking about, having an enchanted mindset, that might be a good challenge to embrace for the week. We've got our shopping list. Oh, Chris, no, no, not you. Never. Your shopping list can be used as a shopping list. Again, I've got some examples of how folks have repurposed it. I mentioned my anniversary week. I've broken this down into things there's mine at the bottom, and it's my anniversary bingo in my shopping list. And I've got some stuff I'm going to do for me, some stuff I'm going to do for my husband, and then some us stuff. Like we always look at our wedding album and we're going to play our vinyl records. And so it's just my little bingo board to embrace a fun week. If you're going back to school, how about a back to school? How do we make that magical this week? Create a bingo board for that. Yeah, and I've got, I put for my husband like a kiss a day and a hug a day because sometimes we forget and boom, the day's gone. So I'm intentional this week. There's a bingo, a birthday bingo that could go there. We've got some routines. You can see two different night routines. The bottom one is mine from, when I was trying to, I'm always messing with my nighttime routine. But this could also be doodle spaces. Like just give yourself time to doodle. That's so good for your grown-up brain. And then finally, what are you loving? And so drop that in the chat as we do this. Let me put on some music. AM is asking ideas for wanting to feel brave. So let's put some quest things in there for bravery this week. I'm going to play some music, go back through all these slides, and then we'll close out our time together. My friends, the fastest hour of the week has just occurred. So, thank you for joining Bailey and me this evening. We've loved hanging out with you and getting excited about our journals and making our lives so much better because we have these beautiful tools. We want to see your setup in our Sonder Club. So snap a picture and post that in Sonder Club. And then, of course, Bailey's dropping in a ton of links for you. So the link to this recording. So somebody popped on, I forgot, and said, I missed some of this because of a grandkid called. So we've been recording this, and then I'll be doing a setup. And y'all, it's usually Monday mornings, but I have one more day of Camp Grand Happy, so we couldn't get coverage. So I'll be doing it tomorrow evening. So like we never have a Monday setup. But I'll be doing this setup tomorrow. So if you need to like tweak and you want to just come and hang out with some fabulous Sonder family, join us. And then yes, lots of verbal tea to spill tonight. So we've got Bailey's going to be dropping in all these links, but we want to remind you that on the app we've got daily rituals and ways to pair, your journal with the things that are in our app and in our Sonder Club. We've got this great content library where you can go back and watch some old exclusives. You can always reach out to hello@silkandsonder.com if there's something that catches your eye and you want some assistance with doing that. And the 14-day trial for using our personalized coaching. And that's really cool because included in that trial is your intake, where you get to take all of these personality profile like tests and the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram and finding out what your saboteurs are. All of that is part of your intake. So that is a deal to be able to get that 14-day free trial because that alone will show you so much about yourself. Of course, that 24/7 personalized coach, Jenny's always available. You can always check in and say, hey, I need some help. I need some thoughts. We've got some new features that are happening. You're going to be able to do your life as a movie, which kind of boils you all down into this one beautiful story. Your wheel of life data is now going to be able to be saved, and you create all this beautiful tracking, and you can go back and remember what certain years and months and times look like and see trends in your life by being able to update that wheel of life and keeping all that data available. We're going to have text to speech journaling prompts. I'm going to be doing an exclusive this month on rewriting our fairy tale, finding all the good enchantment in this life that we already have. So that there's a nominal fee for that exclusive, but that is coming up on Thursday, August 21st. So would love to see you there. And then there's my playlist. And so we will leave you this evening with a little magic music, and we'll maybe see you tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us, Sonder fam.